Well, I can't wait to see the comment section on this one. I'm just saying, if you hate Republicans, you probably haven't talked to one in real life lately. And I mean, really talk to one in person, not over the internet. I'm a lawyer, and this is why I think we should be talking to members of the other parties, specifically Republicans, today. This is what I've learned from Republicans. So I want to start off being just transparent about my political affiliations. I am currently a registered Democrat. That said, I wouldn't necessarily subscribe to all of the party platforms of the Democratic Party, but like many states, the state I live in requires closed primaries. And so for me to participate in those primaries, I do need to identify with one of the major political parties. And so that is why I've chosen the Democratic Party. However, I consider myself to be a moderate. I, I have some views that would be more conservative, some that would be considered more liberal. And like most people, I wasn't born and grown into just the perfect example of the kind of people the Democratic Party is trying to cater to. And so, why do I think we need to talk to Republicans and members of parties we're not a part of? Well, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I stalk comment sections. I love comment sections. I love to read comment sections of news stories and just hear what people are saying, getting the temperature of people when they are free to post whatever they want without consequences, because people post some wild things. Even the comments I get on my own videos can be shocking how rude people will be for really no reason. But when I read these comments, I see that what people are talking about when they say the Republicans or the Democrats, they're not talking about their neighbor across the street, their neighbor in another county, their neighbor in another state. They're talking about partisan leadership. And what's more, they're talking about the worst of those leaders. They're taking the worst characteristics of those leaders and their platforms and describing that as the amorphous Republican, the amorphous Democrat. And that's simply not what your average Democrat and your average Republican look like. Don't get me wrong, I recognize it's difficult to talk about politics. Let me tell you an example about when talking to a conservative, I conversation really went sideways for me. When I was in law school, I went to this event. It was a church event, but I ended up giving a ride home to somebody and just chatting with her a little bit about the upcoming election in 2016, which you will recall would be Hillary Clinton against Donald Trump. I told her I would be voting for Hillary Clinton, kind of threw that away, and she was really shocked. She said, "Why would you ever vote for Hillary Clinton?" And I laid out some of the things that I supported in her platform. She went off on me about gun rights, which I was a little confused about her position on gun rights. And so I pushed back on her statements because I told her, hey, I don't think Hillary Clinton's trying to take any guns away. And I don't think we can do that without a constitutional amendment. I mean, it doesn't matter how against guns you are. Our Constitution permits them for the public. And so that's something that we have to grapple with if that's ever going to change. But I also believe that there has to be restrictions on gun rights. I mean, there has to be situations where to protect the public that there can be restrictions on rights, and that's throughout rights in the Constitution, right? She started getting really upset with me. The conversation escalated, and while I felt like my voice was staying even toned, I think even I started to speed up my talking and start to just escalate the conversation unintentionally. By the end of the conversation, she was almost in tears. And I don't know if it was because she was uncomfortable with the conversation, if she felt like I was attacking her, which I don't recall any personal attacks on her. I just didn't agree with her position on gun rights. She ended the conversation by saying, I just really care about the Constitution. And so this is why I get so emotional about it. I was shocked. She was saying that the reason she was getting upset was because she cared about the Constitution. I care about the Constitution. I love the Constitution, and I would talk about the Constitution all day long with people. It's one of the reasons that I went to law school. And so it was funny to me that because she felt like she cared about the Constitution, she was being attacked, but she didn't realize I had those same values as her. We just disagreed on how we get to those values, how we get to sustaining the Constitution. So we have to approach these conflicts in politics because honestly, I think Republicans and Democrats across the board, for the most part, share the same underlying values. So let's fast forward to another conversation, which I had with one of my law school classmates, where I asked how she could support some Republican stances because I really struggled with the idea that government wouldn't help its people, that it wouldn't help the poor, that it wouldn't be able to help the community. For me, I think that's an essential part of government. And I was surprised when she said, "Me too. I think the government should help." However, it's not helping. We're spending so much money and it's inefficient, it's ineffective, and people aren't getting the help they need. And so, why are we paying all of this money into a system that's not working? And it had never occurred to me prior to that. Maybe I was a little naive, but it had not occurred to me that many Republicans weren't upset with the services that were actually being provided, but they felt like those services weren't getting to the right people and that it was actually just money being sent down the drain. Well, that's an important conversation to have then, huh? Because there are some Republicans who are blatantly racist and are trying to uphold white supremacy, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not talking about those Republicans, and nobody needs to engage with those Republicans if they don't want to. I don't care to. But there are many Republicans, if not the majority of Republicans, who care much more that the system is failing and they're putting their money in a broken system that nobody's really trying to fix because they say if you attack that the system is broken, that you are just being a bigot or you are just being a racist, etc. And that's a problem. These Republicans care about what everyone cares about, which is they want to be safe. They want their family to be safe. They want economic security. They want physical security. And they want to make sure that their family can have opportunities to be happy and healthy in this world. Every single person wants that. I mean, maybe some don't. I don't know who you are. If that's not you, go ahead and give me a comment and tell me why you don't believe in those values. And so when we're talking about these types of Republicans, the worst of them are usually the ones I meet on the internet. I haven't met the ones in person who are really all that terrible. These Republicans are upset about a broken system, the government that is not working for them. And this is the same complaint as many Democrats, because I will tell you, there are so many things in this system that are broken and that you push to get fixed and nobody cares about. Plenty of government programs are overfunded and underutilized. And if we don't address this issue, no one is going to be happy because the people who need the services aren't getting them, and the people who don't need the services just see their money being wasted. Take, for example, WIC. WIC is a program that provides pregnant mothers, new mothers with food to feed their children and their families and themselves. And the idea of this program is to make sure that they can raise a newborn baby, which really needs a lot of care, a lot of help to have a sustainable life. They want to make sure one of the things mothers don't have to worry about is making sure that baby gets fed and that they get fed so they can nourish their baby through their breast milk or their energy, however they're able to offer that. And that is a value, once again, that I think across the board everyone believes in, that we should take care of babies. I don't think there's anyone who says, nope, let's not feed the babies, let them die. And if there are people like that, once again, comment below because how could that be your position? I think most people want babies to be taken care of. The problem with the WIC program, which is, I think, a very effective when it is utilized, that women do get the nutrition that they need when it's utilized, is it's not utilized. Only 50% of those who are eligible for WIC actually make use of it. That means there's money going towards a program that is just not being utilized. Last year, the government made proposals to change that program to increase more access to different types of food to draw in mothers who may not usually eat the type of food that was provided for before and hopefully bring into the program so they can also get nutritious food to feed themselves and their babies. If this will work, I don't know. The point is that this was a government program that had some huge gaps in it. And to just pretend like the program was working perfectly and that we were doing what we were doing right is not going to ever get us anywhere. The truth is, we need different views to push us to the best solutions. If we stay in these groupthink settings, if we stay talking to people of our same political party, we're not going to come up with solutions that help the maximum number of people. We're also going to miss out on dealing with all of these shared values that we as a nation have. Can we stop pretending that we don't have these shared values? The Democratic Party is not anti family. The Democratic Party is not anti patriotic. The Democratic Party, or maybe it is. And if it is, I think the Democratic Party needs to rethink its position. Because it's people, the people who are members of the Democratic Party, not the leadership, That's not what they care about, and that's not what they value. They care about their families, they care about being safe. So I invite you to talk to a Republican if you're not one. And I don't mean on the internet. Don't ever talk to anybody on the internet that you don't know unless you just want to hear nonsense. I take that from personal experience, even though I will keep trying to figure out the trick to talking to people on the internet. In the end, if you take me up on this invitation, you may have to confront the fact that neither political party has all the answers. And in fact, neither political party probably even has most of the answers, and that we need each other to be successful. Comment below your experiences as you've talked with members of the other party. If you're a Republican, I'd love to hear if my characterization of Republicans is accurate. And if you like this video, like and subscribe. I'll know, it helps me know what kind of content you like, and so I can keep making content for you in the future. I'll talk to you guys next time.